Hello dear followers, let's have a look at lesser known mythological figures from the Norse world, and today we have Hermod. Hermod is the one to have journeyed to Hell to try to have Baldr restored to the living after the god accidentally gets killed by his blind brother following a plot set about by Loki. He is called in the sources Svein Odins, which mainly translates as the boy of Odin. This is what he is called in the main manuscript of the prose Edda of Snorri Sturluson. So the problem here is, was he a son of Odin or was he a servant? Because he could have been both. And actually, I think there is a little more evidence that he was very much a human hero, at least at the beginning. For example, he is linked with the hero Sigmund in the poem Hyndluljóð in stanza 2. Both are recipients of gifts from Odin. I'm going to quote here a bit. Bidjum herfóður í hugum sitja, hann geldur og gefur gol verðungu, gaf Hermodi hjálm og brynju, and Sigmundi sver að þiggja. We seek to find the favor of the army father, that would be Odin. To his followers he gladly gives gold, to Hermod he gave a helm and mail coat, and to Sigmund he gave a sword as a gift. Now, this poem is not really a great source. There are in fact two separate poems, or parts of them put together. The longer one, the actual poem of Hyndla, is chiefly a collection of names, not strictly mythological, but belonging to the semi-historical hero sagas of Norse tradition. The wise woman Hyndla is being asked by Freyja to trace the ancestry of her favorite Ottar, for the purpose of deciding a wager. Gives then a complex genealogy including many of the heroes who appear in the popular sagas. There is also another poem intercalated here, the Völuspá in Skama, but as source material it might have been old. However, it does not appear that the poem was written before the 1200s, and Snorri quotes this poem. However, there is no indication that these two poems were actually written together. So a potentially problematic source. However, we do have another poem, Håkonarmál. That's a poem that attempts to depict the Christian Håkon the Good as a friend to the pagan gods, and this poem puts Hermod at Valhall awaiting the arrival of the recently defeated Håkon in stanza 14. He is mentioned together with Bragi, who may be the human poet Bragi Boddason referred this time, and not the god. I actually made a separate video about Bragi a while ago, feel free to check it out. It deals with exactly these two dimensions of this character, Bragi the god and Bragi the poet. Snorri never mentions Hermod in his lists of Asir, of the gods from Osgardr, although he often seems to be present. So the character might have been a mashup of heroic and mythological material. That's actually quite a possibility. Furthermore, there is a hero by the same name in Old English. At any rate, if Hermod is Odin's servant, he fulfills a role rather like that of Skirnir, who is the servant of Freyr, who was dispatched to the world of the giants to get Gerður as a wife for Frey, and to the world of the dwarves to get the fetter Gleipnir to bind the wolf Fenrir. If he is Odin's son, then the family drama automatically increases because we have a set of brothers performing all the acts in the story. Baldr the victim, Hörður the killer, Hermod the rectifier, but also Voli, who is another son born with the sole purpose of avenging Baldr. Hermóður appears distinctly in section 49 of the prose Edda book Gylfaginning. There it is described that the gods were devastated at the death of Baldr and filled with sorrow, but after they gather their wits, Frigg, the wife of Odin, asks the Asir who among them would like to gain all of her favor by riding the road to Hell and inquiring about Baldr. Whoever agreed was to offer Hel a ransom in exchange for Baldr's return to Osgardr. And Hermod is the one to agree. The description is absolutely spectacular, with similarities in medieval Christian vision literature and in the heroic legends of the world. He gallops away on Odin's horse. In the meantime, Baldr's body is taken to his ship and the funeral performed there. A great deal of gods and giants attend the ceremony, at which Odin lays his arm ring Draupnir on the pyre, the magic ring that drips from it 8 gold rings of the same weight every 9th night. Hermod rides for 9 nights through valleys dark and deep, and he sees nothing until he reaches the river Gjoll, the screaming river if you want, and then goes on to the bridge with glowing gold, and there a maiden guarding the bridge awaits. She's called Modguth, and she notices that Hermod actually does not belong to the world of the dead, and she asks him about his name and lineage. And after Hermod explains his purpose there, she tells him where Baldr has gone. Downwards and northwards lies the road to Hell. Then Hermod rides on until he comes to Hell's gates. He goes into the hall and sees there, sitting in a great seat of honor, his brother Baldr. And Hermod stays there the night. In the morning, Hermod begs from Hell that Baldr might ride home with him, and says what a great sorrow it has been for all the Aesir that Baldr is in Hell. But she says that it must be tested first whether Baldr is as beloved by the people as it is said, and she formulates her famous condition that if all things in the world, alive and dead, weep for him, then he can go back to the Aesir. So Hermod goes, and Baldr accompanies him out of the hall, and he also gives him the ring Draupnir and sends it to Odin as a keepsake. And then Hermod rides back on his way, and he comes to Osgardr and tells everything he knows. So after this act, the Aesir gather round, and envoys are sent to convince every being on this world to weep for Baldr. But then we have Loki again in the picture, who, disguised as a giantess called Thok, refuses to do so, and then Baldr stays in Hell. So this story shows us Hermod in a rather minor role. He is just the middleman, the one traveling to send a message back and forth. But the story is actually about Baldr, and this is reinforced by the fact that Baldr is one of the gods who will be coming back after Ragnarok. So I hope you enjoyed this short story. I recommend listening to my contribution on Bragi as well. That's a little longer. And for more quality material and explanations from a historian about Norse religion, hit the subscribe button. Many thanks for supporting me, and till next time with more Norse gods.